these are government bans that are going to lead to a different type of authoritarianism where they're going to weaken us so much that our voice is completely gone. And what we're seeing now with Twitter or X and Jimmy Kimmel and these little laws that are making sure that we do certain things a certain way, I'm worried that it's going to expand and get even more dire for the regular person like you and I, the educators of America, or even the people that just stay home and watch, that the government is going to take that control and eliminate the power completely. And it starts with stuff
All
like
right.
this.
I'm gonna show you how great I am. We're not worthy.
I said, empty your mind.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
For another episode of Canceled Teachers Talk Everything. Last week we had a phenomenal episode, so we're looking to keep the ball rolling and see if we can strike fire
Yes.
twice. I thought last week's episode was one of the best we've done together, and I think it's a good idea to keep it close to home in terms of topics. So when this man said, "How about we do this?" I was like, absolutely. So once again, this is Canceled Teachers Talks Everything, where we talk about anything that piques our interest, from sports to pop culture to politics to music to film. Anything is on the table. And this week
Yes, sir.
we're gonna hit a banger. Either we're gonna go down in flames, or this is gonna be this is gonna be a money making extravaganza. But we've been thinking, at least for the last 2 weeks, how can we do something that is relevant to the topic of today. And this was something that we've juggled for a while now, and I think that we're finally ready to do it.
Yeah. I'll say this, not to cut you off. We're called cancel teachers because there have been many times where Will and I, in class, have been told to stay away from certain subjects, certain topics, certain posters we cannot put on our walls, if you recall that. I don't know if you remember that. And we've kind of been muted. And this is our opportunity. Yes, we're going to ruffle a couple of feathers, but, we're not really afraid of that. So, and because we film a week in advance, we felt like, well, you know what? This week, the hot topic is the First Amendment. So, Howlett, go ahead
All
and
right,
finish
we
your
are
thought.
going to talk about the First Amendment. And we're going to do it in the most unbiased way possible, or maybe extremely biased, depending on what direction this goes, because we have had our previous conversations about the First Amendment, but we've never done it in this format, and who knows where it's going to go. We didn't come up with a game plan beforehand. We're just going to let it go. That's how good old-fashioned conversations that's how they happen. So we're going to talk about the First Amendment in whatever way we possibly can, as teachers, as Americans, as human beings, as citizens. So we're gonna see where it goes. I want to start it off with the $1,000,000 question. The $1,000,000 question.
Ooh, talk to me. And by the way, Will and I, we don't exchange our questions to each other. So he might give me a question I might not be prepared for. Same
I'm
for
prepared
him,
for all
but
of it.
that's kind of where.
I'm always prepared.
All right, so
All
go
right.
ahead, hit me. Go for
Okay,
it.
so it's 2025, and you're a teacher. I'm a teacher.
Yikes.
Social media is a big thing in today's America. So I gotta hit you hard to begin with. Is the First Amendment under
Talk
attack?
to me, brother. Oh, it's the First Amendment under attack. Percent. And I'll say this about the First Amendment. It's not the only one that's under attack. We're talking about the 14th Amendment. We're talking about even the Second Amendment, if you want to go there. We're talking about the 14th Amendment. America right now, yes, I understand that we have a lot of listeners, even family members that are not really questioning where our Constitution is going. But at the same time, we must, as teachers, and like you said earlier, simply as Americans, we have to understand that, yes, our Constitution is under attack. Our First Amendment is under attack. And we could talk about pretty much any lane, books being banned, the Ten Commandments in the classroom.
Frisco's first day is Wednesday, and on that day, a new poster will greet every child in every grade. Frisco ISD gave us these photos of the 10 Commandments now hanging in each of its 4,000 plus classrooms.
A talk show host who I don't really care about being muted just for, I don't know, having commentary about a recent incident that coincidentally teachers cannot even talk about here in our great state of Texas. Which, by the way, I've heard a couple of warnings from other teachers, by the way. So, yes, our First Amendment is under attack. What do you think?
I actually did agree 100% with what you just said until I was scrolling through social media the other day, and I read a comment from a personality. And he said, and his name's Chael Sonnen. He's a UFC fighter, and usually UFC fighters tend to lean right. But he said, free speech means not being arrested for expressing your ideas. It does not mean that other people or companies have to pay you to express your ideas.
Okay. So let me bring up something. Speaking of that, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2017 or 18, Twitter or X was being under attack, and people were being upset that, they were banning certain people for...
Tonight, Twitter silenced Trump permanently, suspending his account after more than 25,000 presidential tweets, citing the risk of further incitement of violence.
Saying certain things when the political climate was high. And people did not like that. I remember you and I, when we were teaching in Dallas, we had a certain coworker in our department. She was furious that Twitter was doing such a thing, her stating that it was a public forum. Now that we see the same thing, for example, what's going on with like Jimmy Kimmel and stuff like that, which, by the way, as of today, he's going to get back on the air. But people were saying the same thing. Or the people that were upset about Twitter are now okay with him being put off the air for his right of speech. Now, Chael Sonnen, that's an interesting point that he brought up. But at the same time, people are using it as leverage, the First Amendment, to fire people.
The fallout from Charlie Kirk's killing has spread to the workplace. People are getting fired for comments that seem to celebrate or glorify the assassination of the MAGA activist and father of 2 young children. These companies and organizations have reported either terminating or suspending employees for posts about Kirk. And that includes Middle Tennessee State University firing a worker they say had, quote, zero empathy for Kirk's death.
To put a target on people. And now we're seeing our First Amendment, that people that were upset about Twitter now are cool with what's happening with people getting fired from their jobs or people being taken off the air for the rights of free speech.
So I
what do you
actually
have to say
have
about
two
that?
things to say. One, we've always taught the Bill of Rights was created not to protect the government, but to protect the rights of the American people from government abuse. And the key word there is government abuse. So the First Amendment is designed to protect us from an abusive government. But you're talking about social media, which is not a government entity. It is a private entity. So that's why I think part of me wants to at least approach the gray area, because this is not this is not a conversation that we can answer right now, because like I said, the First Amendment is not designed to give us free speech in, as our former teacher would have said, in a public forum. Because as we've seen since, I don't know, the Me Too movement, the public forum is less of a public forum and more of a mob mentality. And I mean, the pendulum swings both ways. Sometimes it swings in our favor, and sometimes it swings against us. So in the case of Jimmy Kimmel, you know, he lived on the other end of that pendulum for so long, where he was able to say what he felt like he wanted and got away with it because the First Amendment and free speech. And it just so happens that a different person is in charge and the mob mentality has shifted. So now his voice is going against the grain when it always has kind of gone with the grain. So part of me feels like I would like to say that this idea of free speech does not extend to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But this is the other end of this argument. Those platforms are presented to us as a means of free speech. So at the end of the day, I feel like these companies that provide us with these social media platforms have designed it to give us free speech. So if the government or somebody steps in, then isn't that the same thing as the government infringing upon our First Amendment rights?
Well, that's the whole point, right? With Jimmy Kimmel, the government stepped in and had influence. That's the difference between what happened with Twitter and what's happening with it's ABC that he's on, right? I don't really watch his show. So ABC. So that is a little bit of the difference. What I'm worried about, yes, you're right. These are public forums where people should feel free to express themselves. And to be honest with you, when her and I had that discussion, I was totally for Twitter, not because they were banning free speech posts and stuff like that, but because to me, it is a private entity. The difference is...
Jessica, thanks so much for being here with us. Look, there is, of course, the First Amendment and freedom to speech in this country, but there's also private companies who hire people, and it would seem to me if it's a private company, they get to decide who they want to hire and fire. What do you think?
Absolutely. They don't need a reason to fire you if you're an at-will employee, which most workers in the U.S. are at-will contracts.
It's the private entity that is ABC Now. They're being influenced by the government.
Okay, because crucially, just hours before that statement, Trump's hand-picked FCC chairman went on a podcast and suggested ABC's broadcast license or affiliates could be at risk if they did not suspend or fire Kimmel, essentially issuing an order saying, and I quote him here, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Well, hours later, ABC made the announcement Kimmel would indeed be taken off the air indefinitely. And this is just the latest chapter in Donald Trump's ongoing campaign to crack down on free speech, dominate the media, and essentially render the First Amendment meaningless.
The president, our government, literally stepped in and said, get him off the air. And it worked to a certain extent until money talks and Disney loses $4 or $5 billion. And now Jimmy Kimmel's back later on this week. So there is a difference. And the more stuff that's starting to get banned, like banning the books, even porno, whatever you want to get into, these are government bans that are going to lead to a different type of authoritarianism where they're going to weaken us.
Yesterday, you had the Deputy Attorney General of these United States, the number 2 of the Department of Justice and the former criminal lawyer for the president, suggesting using criminal anti-racketeering laws, the kind of things used for mobsters, RICO statutes, to go after and prosecute protesters who heckled Donald Trump at a restaurant, who yelled at him. We're also getting new reports today. The White House plans to target a variety of left-leaning groups and nonprofits in the coming weeks, all part of a larger and more dangerous effort underway. And it follows a playbook we have seen successfully run in recent years by authoritarian strongmen in places like Hungary and Turkey and Russia.
So much that our voice is completely gone. And what we're seeing now with Twitter or X and Jimmy Kimmel and these little laws that are making sure that we do certain things a certain way, I'm worried that it's going to expand and get even more dire for the regular person like you and I, the educators of America, or even the people that just stay home and watch, that the government is going to take that control and eliminate the power completely. And it starts with stuff like this.
Here's my second thought.
Go ahead.
There are laws that were created in a bygone era to fight yellow journalism or the spread of false information. So there is precedent that the government can manipulate media in a way that's supposed to protect the American people.
I don't think there is. That's state government right there. You know, eventually what would happen if that is the case, it would be ABC by the government or CBS by the government, ESPN, well, I guess that's ABC, by the government. And at that point, that becomes state TV, propaganda TV. And you and I have taught World War I and World War II long enough to know what that really does look like. You understand what I mean? So I don't know if government has that right to protect us from certain liberties in terms of free speech on the air.
What I was getting at was, in certain instances, like we can go back to COVID, there was a lot of false information being spread on social media about COVID, where it came from, how it started,
right? Still,
the effects of it, how long it lasts. It was all kind of, wishy-washy in terms of what was true and what wasn't. Now, does the government have a responsibility to suppress information if it is deemed dangerous?
I will say this. What happened with COVID, in my opinion, was an outlier. Okay, one thing that people tend to forget when it comes to COVID was, in America at least, that was the first time in over a century we have dealt with such a crisis. We didn't know what to do. Nowadays, it's easy to be the Monday morning quarterback and be like, well, I would have done this, I would have done that. The government should have done this, the government should have done that. It kind of felt like 5 years ago, we were just winging what the news was telling us. In my opinion, I don't think there was a hidden agenda. And this is when Trump was at the rule and then eventually Biden. But I think we were just, you remember the fear in the classroom. You and I were doing teaching online. Remember that? Remember that chaos?
I remember having the conversation about the Black Plague. We're teaching, and then 2 weeks later, we get shut down. They sent us home on spring break early. And I remember joking, well, I guess, the Black Plague is making a comeback. 2 weeks of spring break.
Mm-hmm. I remember I had a student, and this was like early January, before the virus was like a big deal. And she was so scared about it. And I was like, well, you're going to bring, and people know me as a teacher, I'm very sarcastic with the kids. I was like, you're going to bring in the virus here. Sure enough, she was I think our first student to get the virus. I felt so guilty. But as far as going back to your question, during COVID, during that time, all we had was our social media applications to communicate with one another. That's where we were getting our news from. And what resulted to it afterwards? Afterwards, Facebook and X and Instagram, if you posted anything about COVID that was not confirmed, it had a little notification, this statement right here, be wary, beware because it has not been proven or whatever. And now they took it off. But, I think that was more of a learning phase of what was going on with COVID and misinformation, which nowadays it feels like every other thing that you read online is 100% misinformation, especially now with AI. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a slippery slope. I think the big debate, the real debate isn't whether the government is infringing upon our First Amendment right. I think the real debate is who's really deciding. Is it the government? Is it the big corporations? Or is it the public? And I think in reality that it's the big corporations. I think if you look at the 5 richest people in America, all 5 of these men own major media outlets. So when we talk about money, you already said money talks. I think it comes down to, can you manipulate the public into siding with you? And the big example is Elon Musk. We both were part of the big cryptocurrency boom.
Yeah.
And we were making really good money off of it. I remember we'd come in and we'd share, our stocks. Hey, what percentage you at? And it was great. We had, it seemed like every day,
yeah.
And we were both pretty good at it. Then there was that night where we were both distracted, and Elon Musk went on Saturday Night Live and said anybody who has cryptocurrency is an idiot. And I woke up on Sunday morning and all my money was gone.
What is Dogecoin? Well, it actually started as a joke based on an internet meme. Mm-hmm. But now it's taken off in a very real way.
Okay, but what is Dogecoin?
Well, it was created in 2013 and has a circulating supply of 117 billion coins.
And that's the thing I'm talking about is these 5 men that control the flow of information, whether it's X or Facebook or Instagram or
well, even TikTok just got bought and it's going to go to Buffett and somebody else. I forgot.
It's the white guy. No,
I thought it was Buffett.
The guy that just became the richest man in the United States.
Oh, I think he's sharing with them. If I'm not mistaken, Ellison,
and Larry Ellison also owns other media. So we're talking about a handful of men controlling all information. And
let me ask you this: are we at a point in society where we are so comforted by our access to social media that we don't care about the corruption behind the scenes as long as we're comfortable reading our news, being told what to believe in, what not? There are some people that had fallen way off the wagon. There are people that would say you and I have fallen way off the wagon when it comes to our public thoughts and opinions. Have we gotten to a point in society where we're like, we don't care who owns it as long as I get to use it?
That's the $1 million question. Because I think that billion dollar question.
Especially because
it's
they're
followed up
billionaires.
with a $1 billion statement. I think humanity, or at least America, is so arrogant in terms of technology that we think we are the end all be all of information, that we think that we understand these media outlets so well that when we see something we could figure out whether it's real or not. And if the past the past is always the best teacher, but if the past has anything to say about it, is that regardless of how smart we think we are, there's always somebody just a little bit smarter. And there are people that get paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars to direct our eyes, to make us think a certain way. And I just think that humanity is arrogant. Humanity is stupid. Humanity thinks that they are great, but in reality, this flow of information is only flowing in the direction that they want us to see. What I will say is that social media has given us the one thing that I think that previous generations have always envied, and that is an unlimited amount of information. We literally have at our fingertips any form of knowledge that we want. You can go to Google, and I could right now put in richest man in the United States, and it will tell me who the richest man in the United States is. The richest man in the world is Larry Ellison. He's worth $360 billion. And just like that, in less than 10 seconds, I was able to go look up this information. But where are we getting that information from? Now, you throw in the whole AI question, where supposedly AI is self-thinking, or it's creating its own real-time thinking. But
Right.
I mean, we've
right.
seen movies like The Matrix. We've seen movies like Terminator. I mean, how much of this information is disseminated independently, and how much of it is corporate controlled? That's the big thing, is who really is infringing upon our First Amendment right? Is it the government? Is it Donald Trump? Is it Joe Biden? Or is our First Amendment right, or our ability or inability to speak, is it being controlled by the people and corporations? Because if I say something stupid right now, that if I talk about one of these subjects that we've already been warned about, who is gonna get me? Is it the government, or is it the people? Is it social media?
Well, look, yeah. So I know we're talking about the First Amendment, but I want to go back to your billionaire. And we were going to have this episode about billionaires. Do we really need billionaires? That was going to be one of our episodes, maybe later on in the future. But, if you go to the Fourth Amendment, search and seizures, a big part of that, especially nowadays, is with surveillance. And that's a violation, now with companies like Palantir, who else? The original Patriot Act. That was when the Patriot Act first came into the scene. People were upset. But I kind of agree with you that the billionaires and the people that I believe are more powerful than the president, or at least can influence the president, did their job to make us forget about the original intent of the Patriot Act. And now it has grown to where billionaires, Peter Thiel and those rich guys, want to use surveillance, whether it's through our phones.
So when you arrive in the United States in a lot of airports these days, it's not just a passport agent that looks at your passport. There's a camera that can take your picture to confirm your identity. Every year, hundreds of millions of people travel in and out of the United States. In 2021, U.S. Customs and Border Protection rolled out a biometric program at airports aimed at automating the entry-exit process.
What the photo does, we take images of known persons, people that have either submitted passport photos. So we're doing a match. We take the live photo and compare it to a photo that we already have of the individual.
This is like facial recognition technology.
We call it comparison because when people hear facial recognition, they automatically orient to surveillance.
Sure.
What we do is very distinct from surveillance. It's to enhance security. We've always been getting the biographic data for years. Now we're biometrically confirming that data.
And a camera on every corner, or some kind of microchipping going on. Now that's where the conspiracy theory is coming in. But they kind of desensitized us to believe that, or to not even believe, just to let it just happen. As long as I'm in my comfort zone and you do not interrupt my comfort zone, I am not going to be upset with the manipulation that the billionaires and the higher government have on muting us, taking us back to the First Amendment, and trying to control the little that we have that can eventually snowball into something that is even more out of this world in terms of the book 1984. That is my big fear. You understand?
I get you. So let me ask you, do we really have a voice?
No, I don't think we do. I think we're done. I think as a society, and I hope I'm wrong, I think we are more concerned about it. Well, this is what it feels like to me, and you can tell me if I'm crazy or not. I kind of feel because I have big conversations with my friends that are, super left, center, MAGA, a Republican, whatever it is. And they kind of are empathetic in a weird way to the billionaires. We need them. They create the jobs, and we can have a conversation about all that stuff. And they're okay with that kind of manipulation. So I think as a culture in America, and not just America, around the world, I think we've been duped, and I can't really see a point where we revolutionize and have the courage to put away our technology to fight for our basic Bill of Rights Amendment rights.
You're saying technology is the thing that's infringing upon our First Amendment right.
It's part of it. That, billionaires, government, it's a big old nice little sandwich that they're building together.
Beautiful podcast that we're talking on right now, where we get to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and our voice may or may not be heard, and we have that right. That's our First Amendment right. So my question is.
Well, look.
My question is.
No, go ahead.
At what point do they pull the carpet out from underneath us?
It's already happening. They're having the genius thing about the billionaires. Yes, they know how to make money. Yes, they are creators. I will give them that credit. But the genius thing about billionaires and even government is that they know how to put us in a bucket and have us pull at each other when we're all being hunted down. They know how to make us fight against each other. The unfortunate incident 2 weeks ago with the YouTuber, that is a direct result of that. With Jimmy Kimmel, that's corporations at B and the government working together to eliminate the few pleasures that the regular people have to watching Jimmy Kimmel, even though I've never really seen an episode of his. So I think it's a big sandwich. I think as a society, we need to have a moment where it's time to fight against that kind of corruption.
So where does the fight start? What do we do if our voice doesn't matter? And supposedly we've been raised to say that our voice, if we put enough voices together, that change could happen. If our voice really doesn't matter, then where do we start?
Well, look, it starts with marching, and look. Our current government is trying to stop that. That's our First Amendment right, too. They're sending actual military with tanks and automatic weapons to fight against protesters. That's something that, to me, is as American as apple pie. Starts with the Boston Tea Party, and they're pretty much saying, in my eyes, that if the Boston Tea Party was to happen today, depending on what side you believe in, it's right or wrong. Look. I've been very lucky in my life. I traveled to a lot of countries on Earth, and the Philippines right now is having a crisis. I don't know if you've heard about this. They had a lot of massive floods the last year and a half. Actually, they have it all the time, but the last year and a half have been very, very bad there in terms of flooding. So the president allocates billions and billions of dollars to these contractors to build bridges and to build ways so that the flooding could stop, right? And there's a famous video. The president goes to his hometown trying to meet with the contractor to discuss the progress of the project, and they've taken off. They took the money and ran. And there's famous TikToks nowadays of those contractors' daughters. They're calling them Nepo babies, showing what they did with the money from the government, buying $30,000 purses, Birkin bags, Mercedes-Benzes, all this stuff. And now the people who have been very controlled, very patient, very humble, they're fighting back for the first time in what seems in ages. And they're actually protesting. It's getting violent. I don't condone violence and protests, but they are desperate. And right now there's a super typhoon heading their way, and where's the protection? It starts with stuff like that, but unfortunately right now, the reason why we're talking about this is because our First Amendment, we can't even march anymore. Because now they're sending in the fuzz. So how do you think we should resolve this? Or what's the solution?
Well, if I had a solution, then I probably wouldn't be sitting in this little tiny room having a conversation with you. I guess I'm naive, because
Okay. You are the eternal
I have a
optimist. I will say
significant
that.
other who is intelligent, but not government depresses her. So in the past, she's always kind of steered clear of
I don't blame
the
her.
inner workings of the government. Now she knows how government functions, she knows how it works, but there's a lot of little things that she's kind of taken for granted. So she's always asking me, especially in the last 12 months, how is this supposed to happen? Because things tend to not go the way that they're intended to go, and I'm always the one that lays it out for her. This is what the founding fathers put in place. This is how government is supposed to function. These are the next steps that are probably going to happen. And then I'm always wrong, because it seems like the current administration likes to skirt these obstacles. Now,
Well, it's also because we've always taken it for granted. We never had government leaders before really step on our rights completely. There was always the fear of us losing the Second Amendment, but did it ever
well,
really
see,
happen?
that's
No,
where
it did not.
I've had to have this conversation with a couple people. This isn't the first time that our supreme leaders have decided to infringe upon our rights. They're just doing it a little bit more openly, but it's really hard in today's world. We talked about social media. It's hard to hide these things. Reagan was able to hide a lot of his stuff. You go back even further than Reagan, and presidents have kind of been shady in history.
They've all been shady.
But they've been able to
100%.
hide it. But now we have social media, and things are a lot harder to sweep under the rug. So as much as I'd like to point the fingers at the people in charge, it's just harder to hide these things. So I just feel like it's more out in the open, and if basically you throw enough crap against the wall, something's bound to stick, which is kind of how I.
So I think that is where a little bit of the gray lining is, silver lining, I guess, is that now we are more
Yes.
aware. It was easy to be the voter who is not really informed. Nowadays, it's kind of almost impossible to not at least get the basics of what's going on with whoever our leader
So
is. I agree with you
that's
there.
where I would say my answer would be to your question of what do we do? How do we do it? You say march. I think the greatest weapon we have is social media. This idea that we could spread awareness with the click of a button anywhere across the globe at any time, and it's instantaneous. So why not use that if that's the greatest weapon we have? So my answer is we need a greater sense of awareness. We need to spread I'm not going to say positive, truthful information. And if we can create a strong enough North Pole in terms of social awareness, I think that would be the first route I would push, is can we somehow use social media or the internet in general to I'm not going to say fight back, but right the ship. I mean, they do that in China. China puts up their Great Wall of China, where it's a lot of the information that goes against what the government has sanctioned gets eliminated. Like it doesn't even go through their firewalls, so you can't access certain information. Facebook is banned and things like that. But yet the citizens have grown up in a society where they have found a way around that. So that would be my push would be, we as Americans need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid. One. And it doesn't matter what flavor Kool-Aid it is.
So
We need to
let
come
me
with our
ask
own
you,
Kool-Aid.
do you think, let's say this administration goes away completely
It will.
in 3 years. Well, we don't know yet. Let's say it goes away. Good or bad, whatever the results are. Do the people that have drank the Kool-Aid, are they just going to go back to normal, or do we need to put them into some kind of like re-education kind of thing? Something that we've seen throughout American and European, aka Nazi history, to reprogram them in a weird, crazy way.
The past, we've had ebbs and flows of political parties, and we've had people that have gone a little too far, and they will fracture off, and they will go their own direction, and the people that tend to stay more central will keep fighting. They will keep going. So what my assumption is going to be, and I could be completely wrong, only time will tell, is that the extremists in both directions, left and right, they will disappear. Somebody else will take their place. There's always going to be people that are one way or the other too far. But my thinking is the people that can reach the most amount, the people that can reach the most of the mass will be the ones that continue. The ones that speak to the most people will be the ones that stand the test of time. So what I think, like I said with the pendulum, where it seems like we're going way extreme right now. We have extreme left and extreme right, and all they want to do is fight each other, and we're kind of stuck in the middle because I don't see either of us right now being on either one of those coins. We are, we may lean left, we may lean right, but we are not. I don't have a Donald Trump poster on my house, and I don't have a. No.
Does your dad do?
No,
I'm joking.
He doesn't even have.
Have
the
it's
cool
improvement.
hat. So
let me ask you this. I think one of the main issues to the reason why the people have grown comfortable with government and billionaires controlling our day-to-day lives is because it hasn't really struck home to us. We're not really feeling it. We're hearing about it. And for some people, yes, they're going through it. It has finally come to us now. You and I are educators. We are in Texas. Now they're making us ban phones in the classroom, which might be a good or bad thing. And they're also trying to pass legislation again to pass out the 10 Commandments in the classroom. Where do you fall along the lines there? Is that enough to turn teachers off to see the big pictures?
It didn't have to.
It's pretty simple, but it has all the statutorily required words on it.
Texas Values, a faith-based conservative group, and other organizations are coordinating a statewide donation drive. They estimate about 90,000 posters are either already displayed or will be soon, even though the law requiring them does not take effect until September 1st, and even though it's ignited anger.
This is a power play. By using our power as legislators to elevate our faith tradition over all the rest, that's the kind of stuff that gives us Christians a bad name.
And action. The ACLU sued and hopes to block the law at a hearing this week.
I think we're in a very solid place legally.
It's a question of whether this teaches American history or promotes the Christian faith.
We just want to make sure that kids have everything they need as they grow. They cry out a lot of times for moral clarity because we're in very uncertain times. And I think the 10 Commandments is an important piece of our history.
No matter their faith.
Absolutely.
In Dallas, I'm Teresa Woodard.
Picture of our First Amendment rights being breached here slowly but surely.
Regardless of my personal beliefs, I'm not going to say whether I'm religious or not. I could be Jewish, I could be Muslim, I could be whatever. I don't think it's fair
there you go.
to force
Buddhist.
anybody to do anything. I've always gone by the live and let live philosophy. I live my life by my principles, and you live your life however you want. I will not look at you any other way, positive or negatively. And I look at every kid that steps into my class the same way. I don't ask them, what they believe in, because that's their right. Who am I to tell them what to think and how to think? So it really bothers me because that's my number one principle. I will treat every kid as an individual because every story is different. Every kid is different. Their upbringing is different. So you cannot write in a book. You can't categorize these kids unless you're just going to create a category for each and every one of them. But by putting up the 10 commandments in the class, I feel like you are putting a principle front and center. And I don't care if it's a good principle or a bad principle. It goes against my belief that when you bring everybody in front of you with face value. So, I mean,
it's interesting because people shift their politics. It's bothering me that people are shifting their politics not because of what they believe, but because of what one singular man is telling them what to believe. That's what's bothering me. Okay. Now, if you came to me with logical points where, it should happen, I would believe that. For instance, what I'm trying to say is like with this 10 Commandment thing, I remember growing up, until about 5 years ago, really, we never questioned the Constitution. Our founding fathers are the barometer of truth, even though, like you said, every presidency has had its form of corruption, just has never been seen as much as today, the past 10 years. Now, because of one singular man, one ideology that he has spewed into 25 to 35% of our people in America, now those people, and they're influencing others that are kind of in the middle.
Well,
to be like, it's okay. First Amendment, Thomas Jefferson was wrong. John Adams was wrong. George Washington was wrong. Let's side more with John Jay. Let's side more with Samuel Adams, who are a bit more evangelical and would have condoned the 10 Commandments in the classroom. It's kind of like, where are those truth people from back in the days? Where are they now? Are they flipping over for one man? Or is it a real change in their ideology? Because to me, it just seems like one man could tell them what to do this time, and then the next time they could change their mind. By the way, that one man is Donald Trump, of course. You understand what I'm trying to get at? Like, what happened?
Now, I don't know. I don't get it. That because the push for the 10 Commandments in the classroom came around the same time that we decided to put "In God We Trust" and the "Under God" part in the Pledge of Allegiance. So we're talking the 1950s. That was when they pushed to put the 10 Commandments in the classroom, and it was a couple of decades later that they ruled that goes against the First Amendment, which is what we're talking about anyways. So this is not new. This is something.
No, it's not new. But it is something that, just like any old topic, tends to revive itself every couple of years. And now, not only has it revived itself, now it's here. Okay? I've talked to other teachers at other schools where their principals have told them, once they send us the print, the copies of the posters, we have to put them up.
It just happened this week in Allen. And I saw it on social media.
All right.
But, yeah, I don't agree with it. I don't. Obviously, as a teacher and an educator, I will do it because it's what's required of me. But it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because, like I said, in today's world, how many of the kids in my classroom are going to connect to the 10 Commandments? I don't think it's a piece of literature from a bygone era.
Okay. I'm a little bit on the other side. I teach world history currently, AP, by the way. And the first couple of chapters are about religion, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Confucianism. We talk about all that stuff. And I live on the southern tip of Texas. Very Catholic, very Christian oriented. And those conversations that we have, I have to be careful to not get overstate my opinion or even give an opinion, because the students have a lot of questions. And they are it's surprising me how knowledgeable they are, not only about the Ten Commandments, but about the Bible in general. So if I was to have to put up that poster, and by the way, I do have kids that are agnostic or atheist. I have some that are Muslim. And, like, what do I do with those kids as well? Are they excluded from the conversation? Are they excluded? Is their religion demeaned? I mean, at what point, what do I do? So if it comes down to that point, I'm probably going to put down the rules of like every major religion surrounded. That way everybody's included. DEI in my classroom, brother. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. If you can go back to the good old argument that if you don't like what you see, look the other way. Well, if I have a trans student in my class and some people don't like what they see, then they can look the other way.
Yeah, and I agree about that. We'll end here. Let me ask you one last question. And a lot of our amendments are kind of under attack, or some people would say, well, full on attack. Our Fourth Amendment, our Eighth Amendment, our 14th Amendment, and so on and so on. What is Trump's intent here at attacking our livelihoods?
I think it's good old fashioned
What's his agenda?
control. I think I've always said that being the president of the United States is probably the worst job in the world. So in my mind, because I feel like I'm like this, I've been told that this is kind of how I function. I don't trust other people to get a job done. I'll just go do it. I'll do it myself. Well, when you're on when you're on the biggest stage as president of the United States, how could you trust that things are going to get done unless you just go make it happen yourself? Now, the only way to make something happen on the scales that America needs is to control as much as possible, to treat America like an unformed piece of Play-Doh that is just your plaything. I'm not going to say whether that's positive or negative. I mean, I'm just as putting myself in charge of the United States of America. We are all over the place, and we have been for a lot. I mean, you look at one of your favorite presidents of all time is Baby Bush. So we have been all over the place in terms of direction for a long time. And if you're somebody who thinks that you're the most knowledgeable and the best that there is, then you're not going to take anybody else's voice into account. You're going to go make it happen. And the only way to make that happen is to control. So in my mind, I think that is what Donald Trump...
What's the overall agenda? So you're saying control.
He wants the the current administration that's in charge, wants things to be formed in their own view, and the only way to do it is to cut down on the dissension and cut down on the people that are fighting against that view. I'm not going to, I'm trying to say things in a way that's not positive or negative. I'm trying to kind of skirt the line here because I don't think that's positive or negative. I think that in terms of leadership, you have two different kinds of leaders. You have those that are a lead by example type. I tend to be a lead by example type. And you have the type of leaders that are more authoritarian and that are going to force the narrative. I feel like the agenda is that this is what the narrative needs to be, this is what the narrative is now. How do I get from A to B? And they do have the power. The current administration has the power. So the question is, are they too strong? Are they being too strong with the power that they have? If you think that they are being too strong, then you probably are on the other end of that coin, and you're the kind of person that they're pushing around, or you're the kind of person that they're infringing upon your rights, or they're infringing upon your way of life. But if you are on their side of the coin, then you 100% agree with their use of power.
I will add on to this. Yes, for sure, it's control. I also think fear is involved. I think for our current president, the administration, I think he has an agenda beyond this 4 years. And I think he wants to deplete the opposition so much. He even said on live TV yesterday, he hates his opponents. Okay? He hates them with the passion. Those are not my words. Those are his words. I think what he's trying to do is create so much fear with the control you're talking about, using billionaires, like you mentioned before, so geniusly, that it's going to paralyze us enough to where we're too scared to fight back. Now, I brought up earlier protesting, right? The one problem I have with protesting is that everybody is on a time schedule. Well, let's just do it this Saturday. Let's just do it this Wednesday or this holiday or first of the month or whatever it is. The way it works, because I've been to numerous protests in my life, and you and I are world history. I did a post the other day, and I got a lot of comments telling me that I'm crazy. One of the things I love about teaching history or world history is that I get to see the patterns before it actually happens. And what I'm seeing here is nothing new. It's when government takes over, puts the fear into the people, and we're even afraid to even march. And we'll just march that one day to break down government control, like you bring up. We got to be consistent. We got to have more leaders. That's where the other side is lacking right now. I will admit to that. And we just got to be there every single day, be diligent, especially now with social media. It's possible to be more vision. So what my question is, to answer the question, what is Trump's agenda here? I think it goes beyond Trump. Whether he wants a third term or not, it's not really that. It's about ending the other side completely by also allowing Texas to gerrymander again and again, and other states. Florida's going to do the same. Indiana's going to do the same. That's the kind of control that you brought up that they're having. I think that's what the ultimate goal is. Take away their basic rights. Make them adjust. Oh, it's just Jimmy Kimmel. I don't like him anyway, so it's okay. Eventually, what is that going to go down to? Other Democratic leaders, if they speak up, are they going to get arrested? Streamers, let's go to where we're at. Streamers, the ones that are famous, are they going to be muted? Especially now, everybody's so upset and mad and pissed off. They wanted civil war because of what happened 2 weeks ago. In my opinion, that is his overall agenda. They want complete control, and they want to shut us down. They want to shut down the people, even their own people who support them. They want to put him into the point where they will never question him. And for the other side, we're too afraid to question him. If you have any last thoughts or something to rebuttal with.
No, I'm just going to let that marinate. I'm going to let it sit because I think it was a good addition because it's hard to argue the control aspect, and you added on to it, and you put a little cherry on top. So I agree, and I mean, it's hard to say because I am an American. I've been on both sides of the coin, and I can't say that somebody else in charge wouldn't be the same, or they wouldn't do the same thing. We've seen presidents use media and their voice to manipulate the people. I mean, you look at.
Well, hold on. you're right to an extent, but no president has ever pushed an amendment down. Oh, we're just going to overwrite the 14th Amendment and not give anybody due process. We're just going to, government's going to shut down radio and television. This is a first time occurrence. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, other presidents have bended certain amendments, but this is the first time we're actually seeing governments being influenced by billionaires or even within themselves with their own political agenda to control what's being said.
All right.
That I would have to disagree with you on that one.
I'm
Go ahead.
I'm gonna take a final shot, and then we could tie a little bow on this. You are not correct. Abraham Lincoln technically infringed upon the 10th Amendment right of states have the power if not granted by the Constitution. So,
but hold on. The southern part was not the U.S. states anymore. They were the Confederate. They were the CSA, if I'm not mistaken, when he started implementing that. They were not American, brother.
He wanted to abolish slavery. They left. Then he abolished slavery officially after they left. But that doesn't mean the writing wasn't on the wall. Just like right now, technically none of our rights have been eliminated. You're just kind of saying that the dominoes are in place. So we could be in the same, that's scary to think that we're in the same position. Okay. That's
it's just tough, man. It's tough. I agree. But look, we could talk about this all day long. We're already an hour on this topic.
It's a good topic. Symposiums. All right.
Let's go ahead and
that was a great topic.
I love it. So go ahead and sign us off.
If you have we don't judge, for one. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your views. We want to see your comments. I do feel like social media or YouTube or I think it's probably one of the most powerful weapons we have. So let us hear your voice, because that's really all we have is our voice. So put your thoughts in the comments. Let us know how you feel. If you disagree with us, it's all right. Obviously, I don't agree with this guy all the time, and he doesn't agree with me, and we can move forward and function the next day without wanting to kill each other, because of all the stupid stuff he has said in his around me in his life, and I still sit here and have a conversation. 100%. We can do that. So we would love for you to join the conversations.
So stupid.
I know, I say stupid.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So let us know. We are canceled teachers, and we are not canceled yet. Maybe after this episode. But make sure you like, subscribe, listen to our previous episodes. Make sure that you're on our list for future episodes, because we have plenty to talk about.
And by the way, in the comments, tell us what topics you want us to talk about. We'll be more than happy to brush them up and spend an entire episode discussing what you guys want to hear as well.
Anything.
So
it is Canceled Teachers Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
I'm gonna show you how we're not worthy.
I said, empty your mind.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.